The next drawing we're going to do is for problem 115. So problem 115, we see we have this outer box, and then we have an H in the center. Now here we have an angle where we're being shown the angle, and we're not necessarily being given the dimensions. So let's see how we're going to approach this drawing. So let's go back to our AutoCAD. I'm going to open a new drawing. Again, you can open a new drawing simply by clicking on this plus arrow. When you do that, it'll open this, essentially the same settings used to open the previous drawing. Now again, I'm going to turn everything off down here. Again, just so as we go along, we can explain it. And I think it'll help. It helps to familiarize yourself with these buttons, so that you're able to know when to turn them on, when to turn them off, and how to best use them. So let me just situate myself here. I need to bring up the drawing on my other monitor. Okay. So again, I'm going to start in the lower left-hand corner. And I'm going to work my way up. Actually, yeah, it doesn't really matter. I'll start in the lower left-hand corner, work my way up. So we're going to start in an arbitrary point and move up 3 inches. So for my settings, I'm not going to put orthogonal on. I'm going to put my polar tracking on. My polar tracking. And then for angles, I'm going to choose the 45, 90, 135, excuse me. The 45, 90, 135, 180, etc. So every 45 degrees. I'm going to put on my snap to 2D cursor reference points. And I'm going to turn on my snap to reference lines. So I'm going to start by making a line. And just coming back. Excuse me, let's not do that. Let's use this one. Coming back here quickly, we're going to go up by 3 inches and then over by 2.25 inches. So we start with our line, we make our first point, and once we have our tracking line, we can just type 3, and we can see it's very small, so we're going to explode this, move it to the center, leave it like that. We go up by 3, take a quick look, we're going to move over by 2.25. So we move over in the positive X direction, we type 2.25 and hit enter. Okay, so here, there are multiple ways to do this drawing. And to draw this line. Let's go back over here. First of all, we know the line is 45 inches. We know this dimension is 1 inch. .25 and 3.25. Well, if this is a 45 degree angle, then the length of this segment and that segment actually have to be the same. So therefore we actually know that this is 1 inch over to the left, over to the right, and 1 inch down. And that's using the Pythagorean theorem. That says that this dimension squared, well actually, that's actually just using calculus. If you have a 45-degree angle, both geometry, I guess, if you have a 45-degree angle, both legs of the triangle have to be exactly the same. That's the only way you can have a 45-degree angle. But you probably don't remember that. Maybe a few of you do. If you knew that, then you would know that this being 1, this being 1. This length would be 1 times the square root of 2, which would be 1.414 blah blah blah. That number extends off into infinity. So while you could get it real close, you couldn't get it 100% accurate, but certainly you could get it within the tolerances you wanted. So you could do 45 degrees at a length of whatever. But let's say we don't remember any of that stuff. How do we go ahead and do this? How do we do this? I'm going to go over a couple of different ways. The first one is we know we have a line of 45 degrees. So let's just come over here, come back to our drawing, and we see our 45-degree tracking line. Now 315 is actually negative 45 degrees, which is actually the proper angle for this angle, because we're 45 degrees from here to here. So we could just start by drawing a long line like this and hitting escape. And forgetting about it for now, going back to the rest of the drawing, making a line of 2.25 in this positive x direction, and then making another 45-degree line. Let's do that. So we start here. So we make a line of 2.25. Type 2.25 and hit enter. And then we find our 45-degree tracking line. And we just draw the line out. The length we don't care about. It just has to be longer than what we need. And then we're going to hit escape. Now, let's bring into use the copy function and the move function and see how we can use that. So I'm going to copy this. How do I do that? The first thing I do is I select it. So once I select it, if you remember in class last week and in one of the videos that you viewed, I talked about how you can select on the ends and then do a lengthen or stretch. And then you can also select on the center. And when you select on the center, it automatically defaults to a move. However, if you look down in the text box here, you see that you have, it says base point B, C for copy, U for undo, and X for exit. If I come down here and type a C, then I'm actually doing a copy. So I've actually created a copy of this line. If we go back to our drawing, we see that this line here wants to be 3.25 inches over from the first line. So once I get my tracking line in the positive x direction, all I have to do is type 3.25 and I made a copy. Now, when you make a copy, you're automatically set up to make another copy. So as soon as I hit enter, it put in that first copy over here, and then it leaves me with another copy if I wanted to make a second copy, a third copy, etc. All I have to do is hit escape to exit out of that. So now I have all these lines. All I have to do is change the length of them. So I can select this, and before I do that, I need to make sure that I X out so I'm not selecting this anymore. Previously, in case you didn't notice, this was selected. So when I selected this, I'm now selecting both of them. I don't want that. I only want to select one. So I escape out so nothing is selected. I can select this, and then I can come up here to this endpoint, and I can pull it down at the point where I get the X. That's the intersection. I can hit my left mouse button, and that'll shorten the line right to that intersection. I can do the same thing here. So I hit my left mouse button, that automatically sets up the lengthen. Again, a reminder, I'm going to hit escape and not do this yet. When I get this stretch and lengthen, if I hit stretch allows me to change the angle. So while I can use stretch, I really want to use lengthen, because lengthen just allows me to move on this axis. But I really, again, I don't need to choose stretch or lengthen. All I have to do is click on the endpoint, and then the endpoint will move right back. It'll automatically become a lengthen, and then we'll move right back to the intersection. Now we have to do the same thing for the other lines. So I can take this one, and I can bring it back to the end point. And then I can take this one and bring that back to the end point. And now my outside is done. Now when you drew these lines in, you could also draw these lines in using the polar reference. And let me go and real quickly show you how to do that. So I'm going to delete this line. And if I want to draw this line in using a polar reference, I click here to start the line. And then remember, I think I don't know how long the line is, but I know it's less than 2 inches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just type @2 angle sign -45. Now the -45 is exactly the same as the 315, but I wanted to use the -45 because the print shows those angles as 45 for the bottom part, and because it's symmetrical, the top one would be -45, which again is the same as 315. So when I do that, it draws the line in like that. And again, we have the same line and the same angles we had before. All we have to do is shorten it up. Okay, so that takes care of the outside. Now we have to do the H on the inside. Let's go back to the drawing, and the H starts at 0.75, 0.75, and then the length of it is 2.25 minus 0.75, so it's 1.5 up. So now I'm going to choose line, snap from. So snap from is up here. It's right here. I choose my base point, this lower corner, and now it wants me to tell it where to start, where to snap, start drawing from. So I type @0.75, comma 0.75, enter. And that gives me the starting point of the H. So I move up by 1.5. I'm going to move over by 0.5. Down by 0.5. Over by 0.5. Up by 0.5. And I'm avoiding going back and forth for the drawing here, or to the drawing itself. Over by 0.5. Down by 1.5. Over by 0.5. Again, even though I'm going in the negative x direction, because I'm using the tracking line, I don't need to type a negative number. So all I need to type is 0.5. Up by 0.5. Over by 0.5. Down by 0.5. And then finally we complete it to the box. We hit enter. We hit escape. And our drawing is done. Now when you finish a drawing like this, you should take a good look at the drawing and at your drawing and make sure that they look alike. If they don't look alike, then you can take out your ruler and do some measurements. Again, the ruler is here, distance measurement, and you can also click here and do a distance measurement. You can pick one point, pick another point, select. We can see this is 3 inches. And I could check all my dimensions if I wanted to. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. So File, Save As, IC3 _1-15, and save. Finally, I'm going to end the video.